Alright, I haven't done one of these on wrestling in quite some time. Forgive the mic quality from 2002, it's the best we have right now. That'll hopefully improve in the future, but I actually want to talk about wrestling for once, which is kinda nice, and in a positive manner, at least to some certain degree, and I want to talk about the guy that a lot of people are talking about right now, Mr. Braun Breaker from NXT. Or as, quite frankly, I'm going to call him, and most people are going to call him Bron Steiner, and I think, hopefully, eventually, WWE will start calling him that. But, nonetheless, I tuned in to NXT 2.0 the first week, much like a bunch of other people did. And I didn't exactly know what to expect, but one of the first things they did was they had a promo with Eli Drake, at the very beginning of the show, and this guy walks up to him, and admittedly at first I didn't recognize him. I'd seen his face before, but I didn't recognize him. And he was kind of smiling weird, and it was, I don't know, the first look I got at Braun Breaker, I was like, who is this fucking goof? Because they only showed him from the face up. It's not like you could see how impressive he looked at that particular point. But he was just acting weird in this promo with Eli Drake, so Eli Drake said he was going to beat the crap out of him, basically. So, whatever. Eli Drake was in the ring, and out comes Bron Steiner for his first match on NXT. And right away, you look at this dude, and he just fucking has it physically. You look at him, he looks fucking great. And it was just interesting because his singlet matches the color pattern of this NXT 2.0 thing, and, obviously, going forward, at least for now, it seems like he's going to be the guy for this little developmental brand for however long it has left, to be honest. So, a lot of people would say, well, the colors are on, that's on purpose to have him match the NXT 2.0, colors, and I guess to a degree that's probably true, but also consider that when you look at the old brother of the old ring gear of the Steiner brothers, particularly Rick, from pre-1997, I guess, it looks pretty damn similar, obviously. So it was funny, when Braun Breaker came out that first night against Eli Drake, I looked at him and I'm like, that guy looks pretty familiar. But I don't think I've seen him before. Maybe outside of a picture or something, but he looks familiar. And, eventually after a couple minutes and you watch the guy in the ring and you look at his face and you figure out, you start to put the pieces together, but I did figure out eventually this was fucking Rick Steiner's son coming in. And this dude in the first match with Eli Drake, which, by the way, Eli Drake deserves all the fucking credit in the world for making this guy look like $1 million, because Eli Drake is one of the best in the business right now. I've been saying that for a while. Can talk his ass off, looks great, he's a grown-ass man, he can work. Quite frankly, I think they're dropping the ball on him big time, unfortunately, so that's a damn shame, but, nonetheless, this might be one of the biggest things he's ever done if Bron Steiner takes off. And again, referring to Braun Breaker as Bron Steiner, so nobody get confused, but, anyway, but that first showing that he had with, Eli Drake, he looked good, and he's definitely, he looked, it was a really short 4 to 5 minute, not a squash match, but just a short enhancement match, I guess you could say, of some sort. It was real short, Bron Steiner's definitely green, definitely work to be done in the ring, and with facials and selling, particularly more than anything, because his offense was fine. The offense that he had wasn't really the problem, but, that's just with time, But this guy showed a fuck ton of potential in that first short match, and he's got the look, which for wrestling nowadays is fucking rare to find anybody who really stands out physically, to me anyway. I'm not saying there aren't big guys in the business, but to find one who just not only looks big and does have the muscles, but that just something really stands out. You could see it with this guy right away. I mean, really, it was just impressive to look at. He has charisma, which in wrestling today is fucking rare at this point, because so many guys are just boring as hell or have zero charisma. This guy is not that. This guy has a lot of energy to him, and I think, at least so far, he connects pretty damn well with the crowds. We're only 3 weeks into this NXT 2.0 thing, but that's what I'm seeing so far. He's got the, it looks like he'll be able to work if you're going to be a fan of work rate. Not saying that, he's going to be having 5-star matches or anything necessarily, but he looks, even now, even though he's new, and again, he's definitely green, he looks pretty damn competent. He's powerful as hell, so he can move guys around in the ring whatever way he wants to. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a problem there. So, promos, it's a little difficult to tell, because promos, it's like, with WWE's scripted shit, it's, you might get a good promo out of somebody, you might not, regardless. There's a lot of guys who, whether it's in or out of WWE, can't talk, or have no charisma, as, I've mentioned, so this is a guy that comes off to me like he can talk. And given the genetics, with a guy who looks like Rick Steiner and sounds just like Scott, which brings us into the second week, I'll get into real quick. The second week, they had him come out in the beginning and they had a brawl with all the new guys, and it didn't look particularly good, but they eventually, Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland were fought off by Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker, and Bron Breakker got on the mic, and you could already tell in the face he was a Steiner. You look at him, he looks just like a young Rick almost. I mean, not exact, but goddamn close. And you can definitely see it. But when you hear him on the mic, again, he seems like he's reciting some very scripted, simple verbiage that they're giving him, especially with him being so new. But the way he said it, the short lines that he had, and, that very short promo he cut, it was like Scott Steiner. I mean, this motherfucker has the look of Rick Steiner, the body of, I feel like, both Steiners at the same time, where he's more ripped like Scott was, but he's also not like, 2000 steroid-sized Scott Steiner. He's got more of his dad's body, but I think a little more tone to him, I guess you could say. But point being, specific society, he looks like Rick, and he sounds just like Scott. Almost exactly like Scott, to where it's scary. Because this guy is full 100% Steiner. Just in every way. Between the match with Eli Drake, and I don't have to say too much about the tag match, because it was kind of the same thing. There were some spots to just make him look really good, and he had a little thing with Ridge Holland and whatever, and again, he did good in that match too. Again, there's some of the simple things that, with a green wrestler you're going to need to work on. That's just going to take time, but offensively, he's tremendous, and again, he's so fucking powerful. He can do all the shit he's got to do, because he's just strong as shit. It's like there's no problem with him moving guys around in the ring. And, they if anybody's seen the video of that tag match, he used the Steiner recliner, and the crowd went fucking nuts, which was awesome, And he's also using the belly-to-belly that Scott used to do, a little bit differently, but nonetheless, so he's definitely got the Steiner moves, but, not to get too off topic, but he looks like Rick, he sounds like Scott, and he wrestles exactly like the Steiners. Not just in the moves, but when you watch his first 2 matches he's had so far on NXT, look at how he moves in the ring. He moves like a Steiner. I mean, it's so funny to watch him in a good way, because everything about him is just, it's full-blooded Steiner. It's exactly like the Steiners. And for him, that's perfect, because it's not a ripoff in his case, and it's not like he's forcing it anyway, so it wouldn't be a ripoff regardless, but he's family, he's legacy. So to see a guy who I think definitely has some differences about him, and hopefully in the future those will be accentuated, or that's not the right word, but that'll be focused on a little bit in the future. And yet he still has this ability in the ring to let you know that he is a Steiner, and he moves like it. That's why, it's so funny to me that the WWE will not let him use the name Steiner, or at least that's what it seemed like, because that's something that they would do, although I've heard things about it might be more that apparently the Steiners, or at least Scott, owns the name Steiner, so WWE would have to get permission for him to use it. I don't know which one's true, who the hell knows. But, either way, it's like I would think that if the WWE could get Scott to let that name be used, or maybe even come in, as some rumors suggest. Again, it's all internet rumors, who the hell knows, but if that could be a thing that could happen, and then they could call him Bron Steiner, which is what they should be doing regardless, that would be pretty fucking awesome. And especially if Scott could be his manager for a little bit while he's, developing. I wouldn't want it to be too much of an overshadowing thing for him, but I don't think it would be. I think that if done right, and I think with this early on, I think if they could get a Scott Steiner to manage his nephew, that'd be pretty fucking cool. I didn't have a whole lot of, as you can tell, I didn't really have a whole lot of direction for this video. I just knew some points that I wanted to bring up and talk about in this video, because it's been on my mind, because I'm a huge fan of this guy. I really am. And that, for me, to be so invested to where I will sit through whatever segments of the shitty NXT brand that I have to sit through until this guy hits my TV screen, that's got to be somebody I'm fucking interested in, because there is very few people for wrestling, especially in this shitty current era of wrestling, that I will sit through all kinds of shit for just to see him. And this is a guy who has made an impression on me as a fan. Obviously, I've never wrestled or anything, so some of this stuff I'm saying, it's not like I have experience, but it's just the eye test. But this is a guy that's made an impression on me. This guy has something very important to me, just in general, that he has naturally that certain people don't have. And I'll make this comparison kind of, because I've seen it on Twitter. This guy, for me, has impact in what he does. The moves he hits look good. They look like they hurt, but he's not hurting people. They sound great, they look impactful. And the reason I bring this up is because I'll make this comparison. Brian Cage in AEW, and I've been watching him for a number of years too. He has a tremendous look, obviously, for any era of wrestling. And he's got the look. He doesn't have much charisma. He wrestles like the cruiserweights because, that's the cool thing to do now. And he doesn't, people talk about what a destroyer and what a killer this guy is, but he doesn't wrestle like it. And even the moves he does that are powerful from him never come off that powerful. There's a lack of aggression and more of just a, hey, I have to do this move, I have to do that move. There's a lack of emotion, there's a lack of just aggression and a lack of intensity in everything he does, to where his moves in the ring don't really come off as impactful or as powerful as a guy like that should. Whereas Bron Steiner is completely the opposite. Not only does he look the part, he has the charisma. It seems like he'll be able to talk. He's a fucking Steiner, for Christ's sake. It's so, even with WWE scripted verbiage, with that fucking voice and with that family, I think this guy will be able to talk, But in the ring, particularly, is what I mostly am talking about here. In the ring, he has the energy, he has the look, obviously, but he has the impact, he has the aggression. That's a big thing for me that got me into him quickly. was that his moves in the ring, not only does he look powerful, not only does he do the shit well, but it has impact. It has aggression and energy behind it. It looks like he's hurting these people. It looks like he's putting them away. It looks like that his shit works and that it looks good and that there's care behind it and emotion. And again, he's only had 2 matches on NXT. His part, his first match was real short. The second match, the parts in it were simple. But this is a really good showing so far. And he's got that energy behind him and that impact behind him and that charisma and again, the look, which at the end of the day does matter a little bit at least. This guy could be the total package that WWE has needed for a while. Now, I don't necessarily expect him to be, because his biggest battle, in my opinion, just from what we've seen so far, again, it's kind of like playing with the new toy. We need to see more of it, and we need to see how the development goes and all that shit. But just as what we've seen so far, this guy could be the total package, and quite frankly, if his development so far is any sign, his biggest obstacle isn't going to be promos. It damn sure isn't the look, the size. It's not the charisma. He's got that. And offensively in the ring, I don't even think that's a problem. And if he can pick up, the selling and psychology thing a little better over time, again, just got to learn, shit, that'll be amazing. And he's a guy that I don't even know if necessarily would have to sell too much because of how big he is. If you make him a heel and he controls the match, that's not even going to be the big problem there. But nonetheless, my point being, his biggest obstacle is going to be the creative. And we know that. And anybody that watches the WWE product or keeps up with it in any way knows that. Creative is going to be this guy's biggest obstacle, because God only knows what they're going to do with him. Because there's a fuck ton of potential there. A fuck ton. Vince McMahon has to either be so senile at this point that he can't tell what to do with this guy, or he has to purposely fuck this up. Because this dude has all the potential in the world. Even me, a guy who hates most of current wrestling and hates what it's become, I looked at this guy one time, and I've been watching NXT just for him. I tune out after he's done whatever he's doing. Last week I stayed for the whole show, of course, because he was in the main event. This week he just had a little package where it was just a pre-taped little vignette promo type of thing. It wasn't much. It wasn't his best promo because a lot of it you could tell was just what he had to say that was scripted for him. Some of it was corny, as WWE always makes it, so you could tell that wasn't really his fault, but he did have a good line in there saying, if you want a friend, get a dog. And it's funny because when you hear him say that, kind of what that's a reference to. And it's like, this guy, again, I said it earlier, but this guy is just 100% Steiner. This guy got the best genes from the Steiner brothers possible, and just they threw it into one body, into one guy, and that's him. And that's awesome, honestly. And I kind of lost my point there, if you can't tell, so I was leading to something there, so I apologize, but that's fucking great, is my point. This guy has all the potential in the world. And hopefully that, honestly, they just don't fuck it up. Because I would hate to see it. They've got me watching the shows for this guy, for Christ's sake. And I don't know, there's not too much to say other than that. That's just my opinion of Bron Breakker, or Bron Steiner, as I'm going to call him. Is this guy has all the potential in the world. He's got everything, it seems like, at least from what we've seen so far. Time will tell with promos and in the ring, things like that, but he looks incredible. He has the charisma, he has the energy. He's got legacy. So, he's a fucking wrestler, and he's from a wrestling family. He's full-blooded Steiner. That's obvious. I mean, good Christ. You know what I mean? So, I just wanted to get my thoughts out on this guy. I am really excited to see. This is my favorite guy to watch right now. He really is. And it's kind of ridiculous considering some of the guys that, CM Punk just came back. I've been enjoying most of that. Danielson in AEW, I watched the match with Omega and that was fucking great. So there's not, I watched some New Japan. There's a lot of guys I'm a huge fan of over there. But this is my favorite guy to watch right now because this guy's got everything. He has potential at least to be both a new school wrestler yet also a throwback at the same time because he wrestles like the fucking Steiners and his in-ring style is fucking great and it's believable and it's wrestling and it still works. And again, this guy has energy and impact behind what he does. And that's really fucking important. So I think this guy I really think this could be the top guy. This could be the guy you say, all right, fuck Roman Reigns, we're moving him to number 2. If this Bron Steiner's potential and his development keeps going the way it is, just, again, we're super early on here. So this is kind of more of a generalization than anything. But I'm just saying, the potential that I see, this guy has the potential, if he can develop well, to be the guy to knock Roman Reigns off the top spot. Now, I don't think Vince will do that. At most, they might make Roman the top guy on SmackDown and Braun the top guy on Raw. And again, this is hypothetical. This is if Vince even sees that. I can't see how he wouldn't, quite frankly. But, that's what I see. This could be the top guy of at least one of your brands, if not the fucking company. This guy, with time and development and all that, has potential to be WrestleMania main event. Quickly, too. Not even 3. I would give it 3 years. Honestly, I wouldn't even say 5. I'd say 3. That's how much potential this motherfucker has. So, anyway, point being, huge fan of Bron Steiner. I'm legitimately excited to watch him, even if some of the stuff he's going to end up doing is shit because it's WWE and it's current wrestling. So, we'll have to see, but yeah, those are my thoughts on him. That dude has just unlimited fucking potential. So, anyway, before I ramble on anymore, if you check this video out, I appreciate it. Thank you for others. Hopefully I have more consistent stuff coming in the future as I'm planning on doing. We shall see, and I'll see you next time. Let's see where this Bron Steiner thing goes.